Good day everyone, Dr. Polaris here. Most people with even a passing interest in cryptids will have heard of Mothman. The man-shaped, winged entity with glowing eyes is something of a cryptozoological superstar, being referenced in novels, films, video games, and even being a mascot of sorts for the town of Point Pleasant in West Virginia. However, Mothman-like entities have been reported all around the world, with a lesser-known example of the trend occurring throughout the 20th century in Cornwall, UK. This shadowy being is known as the Cornish Owlman. Standing as tall as a person, the creature possesses a dark feathery coat, large wings, and huge round eyes that glow red when exposed to light. All sightings of the Owlman have been reported from the village of Mawnan in Cornwall, with a history stretching back to the 1920s. In 1926, the Cornish Echo newspaper reported that two boys had been chased by what was described as a very large and ferocious bird. The terrified boys managed to escape and took cover behind steel grating. This first sighting in the 20s attracted the attention of surrealist painters Max Ernst and Leonora Carrington. The couple visited Mawnan in 1937. They are said to have performed rituals to try and summon up the half-man, half-bird that they called therianthropes. The Owlman featured heavily in both their artworks for the remainder of their lives. The highly surreal art produced by Carrington in particular is fascinatingly evocative and haunting, featuring dreamscapes inhabited by spirits and hybrid creatures, including the Owlman on occasion. The most famous of these sightings took place in the 1970s, however. On the 17th of April 1976, June and Vicky Melling, aged 12 and 9 respectively, reported being frightened by the sight of a feathered birdman hovering over the church in the village of Mawnan. The girls were on holiday with their family, and when they told their parents of their encounter, their trip came to a sudden end. Don Melling, fearing for his daughter's state of mind after being traumatised by their sighting, immediately drove his family back to Lancaster. The girls produced several sketches of the Owlman, which show many similarities to those created in the wake of the Mothman sightings in Virginia. The story was first reported by Tony Doc Shields, a colourful character that describes himself as an artist, magician, writer, busker, and psychic entertainer, whatever that is. The story was subsequently related in a pamphlet entitled Morgawa, The Monster of Falmouth Bay by Anthony Mornan Peller, which circulated throughout Cornwall in 1976. According to Shields, Owlman was reported again on the 3rd of July by two 14-year-old girls, identified as Sally Chapman and Barbara Parry, who were already aware of the Owlman tale. It must be stated that Shields considers himself first and foremost to be an entertainer, and is not above producing hoaxes in order to generate publicity. Historian Gareth Medway suggested that the whole thing may have been a fabrication by Shields, who has a reputation for hoaxing. Medway noted that witnesses claiming encounters with the legendary monster were either Doc Shields, or friends of Doc Shields, or relatives of Doc Shields, or reported their sightings to Doc Shields and to no one else, or wrote letters describing what they had seen to newspapers and were never interviewed by anyone. Shields has related how, on the 2nd of June of the same year, Sally Chapman and Barbara Parry were camping in the woods near to the church on the outskirts of Mawnan. In opposition to the first sighting, which occurred at a distance, this time the girls claimed that the Owlman approached them on foot. They were confronted by, in their words, a big owl with pointed ears as tall as a man. The eyes were red and glowing. At first I thought it was someone dressed up and trying to scare us. I laughed at it, we both did. Then it flew up into the air and we both screamed. Upon soaring into the trees, the creature displayed black pincer-like claws on its feet. There was a further sighting in 1989, and then again 6 years later. The witness this time was an American tourist. She described the Owlman as being at least 5 feet tall, with huge claws emanating from its vast wings. She sent a letter about her experience to the then night editor of the Western Morning News, Simon Parker, at the end of the summer in 1995. Her letter read, "Dear Sir, I am a student of marine biology at the Field Museum, Chicago, on the last day of a summer vacation in England. Last Sunday evening I had a most unique and frightening experience in the wooded area near the old church in Mawnan, Cornwall. I experienced what I can only describe as a vision from hell. The time was 15 minutes after 9, more or less, and I was walking along a narrow track through the trees. I was halted in my tracks when about 30 metres ahead I saw a monstrous bird man. It was the size of a person with a ghastly face, a wide mouth, glowing eyes and pointed ears. It had huge clawed wings and was covered in feathers of a silvery grey colour. The thing had long bird legs which terminated in large black claws. It saw me and rose, floating towards me. I just screamed, then turned and ran for my life. The whole experience was totally irrational and dreamlike. Friends tell me there is a tradition of a phantom owlman in that district. Now I know why. I have seen the phantom for myself. Please don't publish my real name and address. This could adversely affect my career. Now I have to rethink my worldview entirely. Yours very sincerely, Scared Eyewitness. Sporadic claims of owlman sightings in the vicinity of the church circulated in 1978, 79, 1989 and 95, and according to legend, a loud owl-like sound could be heard at night in the churchyard during the year 2000. Not long after the sightings of the 70s, owl men appeared as antagonists in the 1978 Scooby-Doo episode Watch Out, the Will-O-War. Whether these villains were based on the UK sightings is unknown, but given the closeness in time, it may be a possibility. Explanations for these accounts seem to be fairly obvious. As Trey the Explainer once joked, all cryptids can be explained away as either barn owls or basking sharks, and this seems to be the case with the owlman. Given that most of these sightings occurred at night and were reported by young witnesses, it is most likely that the creature was nothing more than a large owl. The animal's dimensions would have been obscured in the darkness, therefore leaving room for the girls to misinterpret its true size. It is also noteworthy that all of these reported encounters were by people not native to the area and were visiting Cornwall while on holiday. Sally Chapman and her friend were already aware of the initial owlman sighting, so may have been primed to think of the cryptid when camping in the dark woods. Also, all of the owlman sightings occur in one very localised area surrounding the village church. Steeples of said churches are renowned as common nesting sites for owls, and given the descriptions of the alleged owlman, the most likely culprit is the Eurasian eagle owl. Once occurring across the UK until roughly 2,000 years ago, the eagle owl was thought to be extinct in the wild here. However, some breeding pairs do still occur in Britain, though the exact number of pairs and individuals is not definitely known. The World Owl Trust stated that they believe some eagle owls occurring in northern England and Scotland are naturally occurring, making the flight of roughly 350 to 400 kilometres from the west coast of Norway to Shetland and the east coast of Scotland, with the reports from the south of England likely stemming from vagrant eagle owls heading across the channel from the Netherlands and Belgium. With its silvery brown feathered coat, tufted false ears, large size and striking orange eyes, these birds conform very closely to the descriptions of owlman. Given that the species is rare in Britain, and appears to be in the process of recolonising its former territory, most people will not be familiar with the eagle owl's overall form. When this is coupled with less than optimal viewing conditions and a sense of fear, a new cryptid is born. Thanks for watching, everyone. Next week I'll be covering the pantodonts, bizarre herbivorous mammals from the early Cenozoic. See you again soon. Cheerio.